Okay, so today is June to the 22nd, and do I have oh, I was looking for, what is my prayer book? Do I have a volunteer? I thought I had my prayer book over here nearby. For the prayer today?
Is it that I read this?
No, it's just out of the heart. So no problem. I'll go ahead and do it. So let's close our eyes. And think of your beloved ones, even the ones that you cannot see with your eyes right now, the ones that your hands cannot touch anymore, but you know they are there. And expand this love to the whole humanity, the whole creation. And then let's invite our mentors, our guides, the higher beings to be here with us today, guiding us in this meeting, a meeting whose purpose is to seek and know every single day a little bit more about the creation, about us, about God, and about this unconditional love that the Father has for every single son and daughter. Lord, please stay with us today. Help us, including the mentors with us now, the spiritual guides. Help us to grasp a little bit more of this knowledge, the spiritual teachings. Not only comprehend those teachings, but become part of it, acting according to it. So protect us, guide us, and even after this meeting, stay with us for the rest of this day and the days to come. The same we ask for those who could not be with us today, but we know for sure they are in our hearts, and so we are in their hearts as well. And so be it.
So it is.
So, okay. So, guys, yesterday I was watching something very interesting, and I would like to share with you. So the food for thoughts today is not meant to say anything or say what I believe or whether it's true or not, but it's just to actually really share some food for thoughts so we can think about it later on. It is about the Turin Shroud. I must say that personally, I normally I don't believe in those kind of things because, you know, there are some tests out there and anyway, But and we know history proved us that in the past, man did a lot of things wrong, you know, trying to, in an illusion of holding some power, some sort of power, political power. Several people they created, they forged, you know, holy relics, you know, holy stuff. So, but I was watching a documentary about this Turing shroud, and I thought it was very interesting. Some of the ideas, it was not saying it is real or it is fake. Not saying, it was just saying, you know, showing some of the ideas. So we kind of have our own opinion, you know. At the end of the day, it's a matter of faith. But the question that I have to the group, does anybody know what this is, what the name of this object is?
The circle, the ball?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I'll mention the name and keep the name in your mind, because it will relate to something that we have been talking about it. The name of this object, which is an electrical object, it is plasma globe or plasma ball, plasma globe. So as we, you know, we power on, there is electricity discharge in this oh, I forgot the name of this, it's filament. And depending on the voltage of that energy source, then the electric discharge will be a little bit different. And this electricity, you know, will, if you touch the globe or anything touches the globe, then the electricity will kind of be attracted to it, to that touch. And as it does that, it kind of emits plasma. So being plasma, something, you know, out of electricity, is not electricity, but it is like a subproduct. And so just keep that in your mind. And those plasma globe, they have some how can I say, they have the capacity, for example, to, even if you touch like with a bulb, a light bulb, if you touch this globe with a light bulb, it will have the power to light up this globe, this bulb, meaning it does have an energy, even though it's not harmful to us, we can touch it, but it is that powerful. So when I was looking at this, then I thought about looking some videos about the plasma globe, because remember, one of the things that in some of those mediumistic meetings or some of those books that we read, there are lots of references about plasma, right? So meaning we learn more and more about what really plasma is and what you can do with it. So I got this video that is actually like a scholar video. Can you hear the audio? It's a very short video.
Almost everyone has seen a plasma globe. But how many of your students know how it works? The hidden secret of the plasma globe is a small Tesla coil in its center. The coil produces a large potential difference between it and the outer glass globe. A thin gold film on the inside of the globe attracts electric charge. The space between is filled with an inert gas that completes the circuit between the coil and the globe. You can see the glowing plasma that results from electricity being conducted through the gas. It looks just like lightning. The potential difference between the surfaces in the globe is very similar to the potential difference between the clouds and the ground underneath them. All potential differences want to even out by discharging. Why does the lightning want to follow your finger? Just like nature's lightning is attracted to objects on the ground, the charged particles in the plasma are attracted to small objects near the surface of the globe. Your students may also notice that if they hold their fingers in one place for a bit, the temperature of the glass increases at that point of the globe. Some of the energy carried by the plasma gets transferred to the glass, increasing its temperature.
I will stop here. But listen what this professor said, you know, the lightning will carry the plasma, and the more plasma, you know, is transferred, then the higher the energy, because the glass will change the temperature. So, but what exactly this have to do with, you know, the Turing shroud? It is because one of the scientists, you know, studying the Turing shroud, he tried to reproduce what this is, because at the end of the day, the Turing shroud, when they did a microscopic investigation, they learned that this, let's call painting, is not really uniform, because the layer of blood is only on the very first I do not know how to say, but the very first layer of the fabric. So it does not penetrate the fabric. It does not spread over all over the fabric like any other painting on canvas would do, but it does touch only the very first filament, the very first, you know, like the words are not coming to my mind, but if let's say you have a thread of that cloth, it will not go to all the threads in that. It's just going to be on the very first one, the very first layer, but it will not spread. It will not, you know, kind of go over the whole area. So and this was very intriguing. And this scientist was trying to reproduce this image. What he did, he took like a plasma globe. By the way, another guy working with plasma globe a lot was Nikola Tesla. For some reason, he was very interested in that. So, so this scientist, what he did, he got a piece of cotton cloth, and he put on top of the a plasma globe, and then he was holding the cloth with his hand for a little bit. And after a while, what happened was he could see the picture of his hand on the cloth, and it was exactly the same pattern, painting or printing pattern as the Turing shroud. So right now, this guy, he's conducting a larger scale experiments. He's using like a body size object, and he's trying to reproduce the same conditions as the plasma globe. And he's getting pictures out of it. So he's doing progress. So what calls my attention is knowing that whenever the spirit detaches the body, we know there is a discharge of energy. And the other thing that we know is once the doctors say, you know, okay, so the person is no longer there, the doctors acknowledge the death of the person, what the spirits, they tell us is that at that point, the spirit, the soul, is not completely detached from the physical body yet. Even though the brain is no longer, working, functioning, but there is a period of time between the, let's call the death of the brain and the complete detach of the soul from the body. And that means releasing some energy. Similar to something that happens here. So I wonder if in that moment, when the soul detaches from the body, requiring some energy, I wonder if exactly at that moment of the detachment of the soul from the body, if there is enough plasma being released, enough to produce this effect. I mean, I'm not talking about anybody, but maybe somebody, a higher being, but not me, for example. But anyway, just something for us to think about, because like I said, personally, I do not know if I believe in the Turing Shroud, but I have to keep my mind open to other possibilities, and because at some point somebody was very successful in doing this and creating like as a minimum a piece of art that is until today it is a mystery to science. So just something for us to think about.
Can I say something about that?
Yes, ma'am.
During the shroud, there's been a lot of controversy, as you know,
Yes.
but I happen to believe that it is genuine.
Yeah. And I get that. Like I said, this is a matter of faith. I have, bouncing between yes and no myself, but actually the more we advance in science, the more we can see that what those the newest investigations show is more it's not conclusive, like it is a forgery, like the 10 years ago when they did those tests saying that it was a medieval cloth. Because at the end of the day, I remember thinking at that time, well, how we know there was not contamination in those samples that they took? And in fact, there are proofs that some of these some areas in this shroud was repaired or were repaired, because back in the year 1200, something like this, there was a fire in the church where the shroud was, and the shroud was located in this box that was a silver box, and the heat was so intense by the time they got to the box to recover the shroud and try to save it. The heat was so intense that a little bit of the silver melted, and as it did, whip it a little bit, there was some drops of silver on the shroud, and then it did damage. That's why we see those areas right here, those were the areas damaged. So what happened was some nuns, they were the ones responsible to kind of repair the shroud and put it back in one piece, but evidently they used, newer fabric, newer cloth. So I remember thinking, I didn't know that story, but I remember when the conclusion of the test back in the year 2006, I can remember. I remember thinking, okay, so how do they know this is not, the samples, they were not contaminated, or they were truly, representative? But anyway, so I hope the church will allow more tests to be done, because now we have more, a better technology, so I hope more tests can be done on this. All right, so.
Yes, good. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Go ahead, Hyacinth.
No, I'm saying yes. I mean, you don't really want to be genuine.
Yeah. So here we are. So we are about to finish this under book 1, First Causes, chapter 3. Topic is creation. And last time we were talking about, what was this? Yeah, diversity of the human race. The question was, what causes the physical and moral differences in the diversity of the human race on Earth? And the answer was climate, lifestyles, and habits. The same differences are produced in two children born to the same mother but raised apart from one another under different conditions, bear no moral resemblance to each other. So now we have two questions. Was humankind born at the various points around the planet? And the other question, do these differences constitute different species? So I will go ahead and just show the answer, because when I think about those, even though those questions, they seem to be simple to us, but remember those questions, they were asked like 200 years ago. And evidently today we know a lot based on history, based on archaeology, and but it is interesting to analyze how those spirits helping Kardec, how they answer to those questions. So was humankind born at the various points around the planet? And the answer was yes, at the various times, meaning there were several cycles when there was a certain stage of the human race being trying to thrive. So this is one of the causes of diversity in the human race. The earliest people spread out across different climates and combined with other races, which formed new ethnic groups. So today it is a given, because that's pretty much what archaeology and history, what they tell us, but they didn't know, they had no clue back in 1800s about those investigations and what they found. Do these differences constitute different species? Oops, what is the answer? Okay, yeah. Of course not. All of these different people are a single family. Do the differences between the varieties of the same fruit stop them from being the same species? I love this answer.
Well, they have a similarity about fruit.
Mm-hmm. So for example, I love rice, and the other day I was looking at an article about rice, and I didn't realize, but we have more than 500 different not species, types of rice. 500.
Yes.
But it's still rice. It's the same species.
Yes, that is one human race.
Exactly.
It's one human race.
Yes. Yeah.
But you cannot tell me that the Aboriginals, the Chinese, the Africans,
Mm.
the Scandinavians
Mm.
are the human race, but they are different species.
In what sense you think? Because over here they're not talking about.
I have to add here a point, Hyacinth. Different species mean they cannot interbreed.
No, but they can. Come on. I have a Scottish grandfather. My brothers, 4 of the 6 married English girls. So, and they have perfectly healthy, beautiful, strong children. Chinese intermarry because it's a human race.
It is the same human race, but does that mean that because of the climate and external conditions, we were made different? Because underneath this skin, and we share the same type of blood, we have the same muscle structure and nerves and everything.
Yes.
You know.
Because blood types, I mean, it's blood, and it has some blood is compatible to others and others not. I mean, you have A minus, B minus, and there is AB minus, which is the rarest form of blood. And not all blood types will go together. So that, but they can still have children.
Yeah, absolutely. Gloria, you have anything to say?
Yes. There's a misunderstanding about the term. Species is a science.
That's what I was thinking. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
Means like the species of bears, or the species of birds, or the species of fish, the species of humans. There is no such thing as race. The term race was developed by humans to differentiate higher and lower, and it's made up. There is no such thing as race. There's been a lot published on this. Race is a human construction word that does not exist in our species. We're all one species. And the confusion comes with the word race, because Hyacinth's right and Giles is right. Birds mate with birds, bears mate with bears, fish mate with fish, humans mate with humans. Those are the species.
Yes.
And the word race is not, it's not appropriate here in this lesson, but 200 years ago, I guess that's what was in use, because the word is species, not race. Race is a human construct that doesn't exist.
Yeah. So
There isn't,
yeah.
there's no such thing as a black race, a yellow race, a blue race, a green race, a white race. That is a human, it's a human construct. There's no such thing. It's the human species.
You know, the more I read about some not texts from the Bibles, but related to Jewish culture and those times culture, and they very commonly they call themselves, I mean, the Jewish, the Gentiles, as a race. And when I hear or read about it, to me it comes, the race is a word that has some cultural basis. So the Jewish, they say, you know, if somebody is not following all those traditions and rituals and such, so these folks, these people, they are not, or they do not deserve to be part of their race. That's how they say, you know, in
And
those...
when I was growing up, they did it with the churches. When we went to a Baptist church, everybody who wasn't Baptist was going to hell. When I went to the Catholic church, everybody who wasn't Catholic was going to hell. It's a way to create privilege in the human species. And by referring to people as, oh, they're of a different race, somehow they're not as good as we are, or they're not as intelligent as we are, they're not as privileged as we are. That is a construction, a false construction by humans. That is not, it's not a scientific fact.
Yeah.
You know, half of my family is so diverse. Oh my goodness. My kids have got hybrid vigor. And it's because they're all one species, but they're from many different cultures.
Yeah.
And it's the diversity, yes. Race, no. It's diversity of the human species.
Yeah. You know, the more I read, because this is the fifth time I reading this book, Paul and Stevens, from my manual. So the more I pay attention to the part of this book talking about the Jewish and how the Jewish, they describe it about themselves, and that's exactly how you say it. You know, they want to be seen as the chosen people, as the you know, the favorite children of God, the only children of God, because everybody else is just whatever. But they are the chosen. I mean, not talking about the Jewish today. I'm talking about those guys, you know. And that's how they call themselves, as the chosen race of God. So it's yeah. Anyway, good discussion. So the next question then is, if human species cannot be traced back to a single ancestor. Should humans stop regarding one another as brothers and sisters? So again, I will not wait for, because we all have our opinion about this and it's very clear, but it is interesting to see what the Spirit say about this. So they say, under God, all human beings are brothers and sisters, animated by a spirit and having the same goal. So at the end of the day, that's what, level us all, to the same level. We are animated by a spirit, having the same goal. That's it. So the human mind is inclined to interpret words literally. Gloria.
What came up for me is under God, all life on other planets would be children of God.
Absolutely. Same Father.
Yeah.
Same Father.
Same creator, same. Yeah. So it's not just all human beings. There are maybe non-human beings that are brothers and sisters because we were all a product of the same source and creator.
What you said just recalled what's gonna. So if I do a very simple comparison, for example, to my own house, I have 2 kids, and even though I treat them equally, they are not the same. They have different individualities, they have different personalities, they have different needs, and because they have different needs, I am attending to those different needs as they need my attention, right? But because of that, because I'm treating, attending those different needs as they happen, somehow my kids, I say that I am favoring one more than another, and it is not. I mean, I don't think there is such a thing. A parent can love a kid more than the other. In my case, it's not, but they're different personalities, and they require different type of help. The love is still the same. So if I think about God, isn't the same thing. I mean, we have different needs requiring attention at a different level, but the love is still the same. We are all created by the same Father. Anyway.
I mean, we basically have the same shape with the head, the brain, the eyes, the nose, the teeth, and so forth. We procreate in the same way,
Mm-hmm.
but according to climate, you have different characteristics.
Yes.
My hair, for example, it's very light, and it's so that, and it's curly and so forth, so it lets through air to keep my head cool.
Mm-hmm.
We did
Yes.
a test like this in Sweden. They took strands of different hair,
Mm-hmm.
and they said, "But Hassan, where is your hair?" It was so fine, and then they said, "No, can't be, because you think of black hair that's so bushy."
Mm-hmm.
It's not, but it's done that way so that air will get through and cool the head.
Isn't
And
that
the strongest,
wonderful?
the Swedish hair, blonde hair, was like rope.
Mm-hmm.
It was so thick, and that is designed to keep the heat.
The heat. Yes. Precisely. I just don't understand why I have the hair I have, been born in a tropical area. I swear it was so hot out there.
Where did your forebears come from, you see?
Yes. But I love this how nature works and works so well, right?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I love this.
Nature doesn't make a mistake. It does its thing and we sort of adjust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely. Are all the planets that revolve? Oh, now we are. Okay, so diversity of the human race, that's the end of it under creation, but it's still under creation. Kardec now is touching existence of multiple worlds. Are all the planets that revolve in space inhabited?
That
then-
nobody knows. Nobody can know that. Of all
Yeah.
the billions and billions and billions of
But look.
universes.
Yeah, let's see what the spirits say, because I like looking at the logic of their arguments. So they say, are all the planets that revolve in space inhabited? And then the answer is yes, and the people on Earth are far from being the leaders in intelligence, goodness, and general development.
That I
This-
agree.
Yeah.
Earth
This-
thinks that we are the boss and we are top dog, and we're not. In fact, Neil deGrasse Tyson jokingly one day said, maybe, the aliens regard us as ants.
It's
When was the last time you talked to an ant?
So I talk to my lizards and bees and the things over here, butterflies.
But do you
So-
talk to ants?
Sometimes
Well, Solomon
because-
said the answer to the wise is go learn from the ant.
what I know for sure, every time they show up like a bunch in front of me, a big change is on the way to my life. It doesn't fail, guys. It's something that okay, here it comes. Something's gonna change pretty soon. And sure enough, anyway. So they talk to me. They have their means to talk to me anyway. So
Okay.
they continue. Despite what, okay, so yes, the people on Earth are far from being the leaders in intelligence, goodness, and general development, despite what they may believe. There are many people who have such a high opinion of themselves. I wonder who those are. And even believe that your little world alone has the privilege of being inhabited by intelligent beings. What an arrogant thought. They believe that God has created the universe only for them. Gloria.
Online now, there are some marvelous pictures of the Mars. And forgive me, I can't remember the name of the craft that's taking those pictures, but I'm a rock hound, and it just shows the most amazing rocks all over the surface. But it looks like it's just a deserted wasteland. And so my initial reaction are all the planets. Remember in school, they said anytime you get a multiple choice and one of the answers is all, that that's not one of the answers. So I'm looking at that all, and I was thinking about these beautiful pictures of Mars that are just it looks like just dirt and rocks. And it's all you can see. And then I remembered, I listened to a near-death experience last week. An amazing woman, I think her name was, I'll have to look it up. I'll see if I can find it. But she's a trial lawyer, and she did such a great job of explaining her near-death experience because she's a trial lawyer and she's used to speaking in front of juries. And I mean, she makes a good case. And she said that in her near-death experiences, she's had more than one,
Wow.
that she was introduced to beings, intelligent beings, that have never had a physical form.
Physical form.
They've only been energy beings. And she was asked by the interviewer, oh, you mean like, spirits or angels? She said, no, this was a species,
Mm-hmm.
and they just had never taken physical form.
Mm-hmm.
So intelligent life. So they may be running all over on Mars. We can't see them in the
You
picture.
just cannot see exactly. They are
Yeah.
in different
Yeah.
frequency.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
cannot see.
So
So
this is a great one because, like I said, immediately I went to, oh, of course not. I saw the pictures of Mars. There's nobody there. Nobody who looks like us.
exactly, yeah. So to look like us, you have to be in the very same condition as the planet Earth, you know, and that's not the case for all the other planets. But bear with what they say, how they respond to Kardec, to all those questions, because there is a sequence in that thought. So, and then Kardec has some thoughts about this. So, Gloria, can I have you as my voluntode to read?
Sure. Existence of multiple worlds. God has populated planets with living beings, all of which have a role in the ultimate divine plan. Believing that living beings are confined to the one point of the universe inhabited by us casts doubt on God's wisdom.
So think about this. This is Kardec analyzing, thinking about what he was told 200 years ago. There was no telescope like James Webb or nothing, you know, no pictures from Mars. So, okay, go ahead. He was just using logic.
Yeah, this is amazing, right? God has done nothing in vain and must have assigned a purpose to every other world that is more important than merely serving as a lovely backdrop for our planet. Furthermore, there's nothing in the position, size, or physical makeup of Earth that warrants the assumption that it alone, of the thousands of planets in space, maybe billions, I might add,
Yeah,
has the privilege of being inhabited.
yeah. So, but let's continue. Let's bear with that thought, because hold on that thought, because the thing will continue. So, do all planets have the same physical constitution? Look, that he is still seeking, you know, the same type of the same idea. And the answer is nope. They do not resemble one another at all. So, precisely.
Question.
Mm.
Were Kardec's questions divinely guided too? Because these are profound questions 200 years ago.
But yeah, so there are some people who truly believe that there was a guidance behind that as well. So me personally, I do believe he was guided in those questions too. Yeah, no doubt. Do all planets have this? Oh, why I repeated that? Oh no. But anyway, so he was asking, do all planets have the same physical constitution? And then he was saying, if all planets have the same form like life, you know, and if they were different, the type of lives living in the, and if it was different, that was the question, not this one. I forgot, I didn't do my job well. So the answer was, of course, just as fish in your world are designed for living in water and birds for the air. So the form of life in this planet may not repeat anywhere else, and vice versa, right? So that's what the question was about, the lives on those planets. Are the planets farthest removed from the sun, deprived of light and heat, since the sun only appears to be a tiny star to them? So, exactly. So to Neptune or Jupiter, they are not so close to the sun, and so many other planets as well. How is the, and why he was asking this, because we know that the heat from the sun, the light from the sun, is one of the major factors for life in this planet. The other one is water, right? So he was asking, okay, so what about it? And then the answer was, are you, I love this, are you assuming that there are no other sources of light and heat than the sun? Are you completely dismissing electricity, which in some worlds plays a role unknown to you, and which is much more important than the role it plays on Earth? Besides, how do you know that the beings of those worlds see the same way you do, with organs like yours?
Ah, I remembered that this is 30 years ago. There were a lot of sightings and visitations of aliens,
Uh-huh.
and they found in a lot of fields there were cows with their intestines out through their anus on the ground, and they had tears in their eyes. And the explanation by a lot of people who had an idea what it was aliens, because they did not have the same animals that we have, and they wanted to see what their insides were like. And so to these women who have been abducted also, because their people don't look like them. So it's a lot going on that we don't know.
Agree. Yeah, agree. And in this case, look, that's why I think, and I believe that Kardec was guided as well in his questions, because we can see a construction of a thought in those answers, and those answers, they're kind of saying, come on, Kardec, think logically, think. Exactly like this one, they're answering the question with other questions. Are you assuming that there are no other sources of light and heat than than the sun? So it was like, think, Kardec, think. And he was thinking, he was doing his job well, because again, he comes with some thoughts. So Gloria, please. You are on mute.
Yes, sometimes I am. Existence of multiple worlds. Different populations of Earth have formed contrasting ideas about creation, depending on their degree of scientific advancement. Reason, supported by science, recognizes the implausibility of some theories. The explanation given by the spirits confirms the theory that has long been recognized by the most enlightened people. Arguments against this theory are that they contradict sacred texts. However, when we examine these statements carefully, they show us that this contradiction is more superficial than genuine. It results from the interpretation that has been given to the allegorical expressions. Adam, widely regarded as the first man, here you go, Hyacinth, here we go.
Yes.
Adam, highly regarded as the first man and sole ancestor of the human race, is not the only point that caused religious convictions around the world to change. At one time, the movement of the earth so blatantly contradicted the Bible that every type of criticism imaginable was fired against it. Despite this, the earth continued to move in its orbit, and people today couldn't possibly object to this fact without jeopardizing their own sanity and credibility. The Bible also states that the world was created in 6 days and establishes the date of creation at about 4,000 years before Christ. According to the Bible, Earth did not exist before that time and was created out of nothing at the time of creation, yet science has undeniably proven otherwise.
Well,
Wait,
yeah.
there's more.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. The history of Earth is irrefutably written in fossils, proving beyond the shadow of a doubt that the 6 days of creation are successive periods, each of which may have been millions of years. This is not a matter of opinion, but a fact that is as indisputably certain as the movement of the Earth, and one that theology itself can no longer refuse to acknowledge. This admission provides yet another example of the errors we commit by attributing literal truth to figurative language. Should we conclude that the Bible is one giant error? No, but we must admit that people have definitely blundered in its interpretation. Science, in studying the geological records of the Earth itself, has determined the order in which the different species of living beings appeared, and this order matches the sequence indicated in the book of Genesis. The main difference is that Earth was created according to the laws and action of the forces of nature over millions of years. It did not spring miraculously from the hand of God in a few days, and it was not formed by the whim of divine will. Does this eclipse God's power or strength? Is the result of creative energy less sublime when it does not happen instantaneously? Of course not. And anyone who does not recognize the magnificence of the divine in this evolution of eternal laws is quite foolish. Science, far from diminishing the glory of divine power, shows us that action from a more sublime perspective is consistent with our notion of God's power and majesty, precisely because the work was carried out without disregard for the laws of nature.
Take this because this is very important. So in here, in this very last sentence here, basically Kardec is concluding that even God is under the laws of nature. Even though he is the creator, he will not bypass the laws of nature. Because like Hyacinth says, you know, nature knows exactly what to do and the perfect means to do something, right? So to create something. So continues. This is the last paragraph, Gloria.
This is why it is important to be careful in literally interpreting figurative statements of belief systems, which, like so many others, could someday enjoy a retraction from those who currently oppose them. Religion, rather than fearing the discoveries of science, should allow itself to be bolstered by it. This union is the only way that religion can arm itself against skeptics.
That's Mr. Kardec thinking. So, go
It
ahead.
took the Vatican 200 years to admit that they had been wrong about Galileo. And John Paul II apologized to Galileo that they were wrong.
Yep. Yeah. Now there is this part of the spirits book is actually much longer than this. The conclusions and the how can I say, the analysis from Kardec is much longer than this. I just took the very first part, but I recommend you guys to, whenever you have time, to continue and read the whole section. It is chapter the third, creation. Biblical account of creation is the number 59. So it's much longer than this. He's showing a lot of not evidences, but he is outlining all the reasons why we need to use science to prove or to confirm certain things, and we should not interpret those sacred or holy texts, so literally, anyway.
It's because, I mean, there's so many fossils.
Mm-hmm.
You have giant races of people.
Mm-hmm.
sources that they can date going back hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
So
So,
I
yeah.
don't think it started with Adam, because in the Jewish chronology, the earth is something like 1,500 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have numbered, no, not that, but they got the generations from Adam down to the present.
Yep.
From Adam to Abram, from Abram to David, and so it's gone down.
Yep. Yep.
Oh no, it's 5,006. But anyway, they have dated it, which is
Yeah.
clearly not correct.
Yep. Yeah. Gloria, had anything to say? You had your hand raised.
I had I'm in the Baton Rouge house, and I had a crew come and clean the carpets, and the crew leader, his name was John. He's getting married at the end of this month, and for his honeymoon, he's taking his new bride to see the Ark.
Oh, going to Ararat in Turkey.
Oh, no. The Flim Flam one that's in the States. Where is that thing? It's in Tennessee or Kentucky or Alabama, someplace. It's
Kentucky.
It's a tourist attraction. Yeah.
Yeah, in Kentucky.
And I just stood there dumbstruck when he told me that. And I said, well, congratulations that you're getting. I couldn't. I felt, I just felt sorry for her. But the other thing I wanted to say is that there was something posted online. I apologize, I haven't read it yet, but it was a good argument, and I'll see if I can find it, because it said that so much of the Bible was unduly influenced by Paul, which means I want to go back and reread the book again, Emmanuel.
Yes. Yeah.
About Paul and Stephen, because I want to reread it from that perspective, because he wasn't around when Jesus was. It was secondhand information.
No. Paul was around, only he was not a follower.
Yes, it was
So much, right. And so much of his information influenced everybody else, his letters. And it was his interpretation of this, his interpretation of that, his interpretation of that. And what this article was saying was a lot of what Paul proposed was not the teaching of Jesus. Jesus was about love and acceptance, and that Paul came from a different background, and his influence is very obvious in the Bible. And that's another reason for not fearing the discoveries of science, because humans are not infallible. And those were not, that wasn't the writings of Jesus. It was the influence of Paul. So the Bible's not, as we know, the Bible is not perfect.
Yeah, well,
by perfect, I mean truth.
But there's so many different authors.
Yes.
Yes.
And not all of them, and some were kept, as you know, the Council of Nicaea, when they decided, and which one should be kept, blah 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 blah. But Paul didn't have the Old Testament. It was Paul was the New Testament and what Jesus, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And this article was saying that he unduly influenced books written by other people because they were referring back to his letters of instruction, because he was trying to pull everybody together, and he was doing interpretations, and some of those were, how can I write anything and not have some Gloria show up in it? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
well, I don't know. I think, well, I'm sorry.
Say that again, Hyacinth.
I'm sympathetic to Paul,
Well,
because
yes, I am.
But I think that he was trying to get things together, and yeah.
And he wasn't infallible.
He wasn't infallible.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
And because Paul as he said, was not a disciple of Jesus, but he
Mhm.
was taught in the desert by the Spirit. So
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
what he is claiming.
Yeah. It is nice. Right now I'm coordinating this study book or book study about Paul and Stevens, this book from Emmanuel, and it is fascinating to see the previous the Paul's education, how he was educated, the how his mind was so intellectual, was so based on reason, and he was absolutely convinced about all these Jewish traditions and all the laws from Moses that was absolutely divine. Those laws, they were, the
Yeah.
best. And once he met Stevens and all those, facts happened,
Who is that,
then
Stephen?
Stevens, yeah.
Paul and Stephen, no, that was a little thing because Stephen, I told you that I had a chaplain, a retired New Zealander who was very psychic, who spoke to Stephen over a 7-year period when someone went into trance, and I have those books. It was very useful because Stephen spoke, and it was something. And when Michael asked him, it's a long story, but
It is a long story, yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
well worth reading.
Yeah.
But Paul was an educated one. Stephen was 21 when he died. So, but Paul was
Stevens
an
was
educated one.
Yeah, when Paul met Stevens, and then all the other facts, Paul going to Damascus in persecution to those Christians
That's right.
and such and such. So once that happens, then it is like a complete realization of what he was in a
That's right.
wrong path.
I think Paul was zapped. I need you, Paul.
Exactly.
He couldn't
But
get away.
and this book from Emmanuel is very, very good. As a matter of fact, I will propose Luis to hold a meeting to specifically talk about this book, because it is worth reading, and the level of information that Emmanuel brings to this story is amazing. So I will propose that to Liz. Gloria.
It's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
When I listen to trance mediums, the ones that are very honest, what they'll say is, I try to get completely out of the way so spirit can speak through me. And sometimes they'll say, well, it's 80% spirit today and 20% me, because they couldn't get all out of the way. And that's kind of how it is with mediums. The messages they're given, we as humans can only interpret those based on our vocabulary, the experiences we've had, what we can convey. And so I don't blame them, but I think there's a human component, an individual component in spiritual messages, because it goes through this filter.
Exactly.
And this filter is not infallible. It is not perfect. It does the best it can, and we pray that we get the message as correct as possible. And it could be 80-20. And that's why I really like that
the emphasis
is on finding the truth.
It could be.
Using science and Anyway, that's just something.
In this book from Emmanuel, so he is indicating that Paul, after the conversion, Paul was very much influenced by the spirit of Stephen. And however, it was still Paul, a very strong-minded person, highly educated, very knowledgeable on the Old Testament and the laws from, Moses, etc., etc. So that's why you see the letters as they are. They have a profound knowledge, but every once in a while you see, signs of the old, educated, and highly intellectual Paul, behind that. So I think it's going to be a very nice thing to hold a meeting just to talk about Paul and how Emmanuel tells his story, because remember, Emmanuel, he was also alive during that time when Jesus, when, Paul, they were alive, but Emmanuel, he didn't meet Paul. It was just that he was fully aware of the whole political, sociological stuff going on, and yeah, so he kind of describes all of that very well.
When I started that book, I couldn't put it down until I finished it. It was really the Paul and Stephen book. It was a real page turner.
So
I will take a picture of that book because I know you mentioned this book before. I will look for it.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another one. It's the same thing, written by
Mm-hmm.
you can see.
I cannot hear you. Hi, sir.
Oh, I'm covering the book. Yes, in the other one, Michael's book, as an educated theologian and priest, his brain, you could see his brain working because he had to check: is this really Paul or Stephen?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is for people. She was psychic, and it started with her approaching Michael as a priest to say, "Would you come to my house, please, because something is going on. My husband is speaking Latin in his sleep, and he does not know Latin." Michael is psychic from a long line of psychic on his mother's side, and on his father's side, fourth generation priest. This was Michael. Okay. So as a psychic and a priest, it was a perfect combination. He could understand spirit. Okay. And so he understood. And the words are sic ecclesia spiritus sanctus, which of course Michael could, as in the church is a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And then Stephen spoke in Koine Greek, which was the Greek spoken in Galatia 2,000 years ago,
Yep.
which was Stephen's language.
Mm-hmm.
It was fascinating. And so this was something, so that I've been through this with Michael, with the books. I had a small group at my house. We went through it with him, and he was so grateful because he could talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because priests don't talk to dead saints. You're trucking with the devil. So Steve, as I told Anna, Stephen is my saint. And when I came to this Vienna with St. Stephen's Dome and went to my Anglican church, there was a stained glass window of Stephen, my church.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something again. You see this one, this picture?
Yes.
This is Stephen Greenstone.
Yes.
And
Stevens being stoned. That what he
was
said.
stoned,
He
yes.
said.
And the strange thing was, Michael had never wondered. I said, Michael, you should write it. No, I don't. No. So the bishop was coming, and I said, ask the bishop, should you write it or not? So as he reports to me that he is in the church in Stockholm, and he's wondering, should I talk to the bishop or not? So he looked at the bishop in the sanctuary, in his chair, and his eyes moved from the bishop's head to the stained glass window, which was the stoning of Stephen. And he said, I took that as a sign that I should talk to the bishop. Now there's a follow-up. The bishop said, Michael, I think that was for you. I don't think you should publish, but I can't stop if you want to publish. You know who has written the thing to the book? The bishop. He was convinced in the end that it was genuine.
Wow.
So things can happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Wonderful story. Thank you for sharing, Hyacinth.
Mhm.
Anyways, guys, today's it's almost 4:30 over here in Houston. I will